Welcome back. Today I'm going to take you along my fall kitchen as I prepare several simple meals for my family of 4. As most sourdough recipes call for a long fermentation, we like to get the benefits of long fermentation where some of the phytic acid is stripped away from the grain, which makes it more digestible and gives it that nice sour flavor too. So I'm preparing a dough in the evening time after the kids have gone to bed. This is going to be a sourdough sandwich bread. The ingredients are 3/4 cup active sourdough starter, 4 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of oil, 4 tablespoons of melted butter, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and an egg on top. You will see me make this tomorrow. This recipe I'm starting now is not long fermented. You can use sourdough discard, which is basically just sourdough starter, and quickly create a recipe with that. Now, you do still get some benefits of the sourdough starter in a discard recipe, even if you don't long ferment it, so it's still a good option. This will be sourdough discard pumpkin biscuits, a fall favorite of everyone in this house. Whenever I make these, they are gone so quickly and people are always asking for more. I'm using canned pumpkin here. I think this is actually from last year. This recipe is 1.5 cups flour, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 1 stick cold butter cut into cubes, 1/4 cup pumpkin puree, 1 teaspoon pumpkin spice, and 3/4 cup sourdough discard. You're going to combine the flour, baking soda, and salt, cut the stick of butter, and massage it into the flour mixture with your hands, creating a nice dough. If the dough is a bit stiff or sticky, that's okay. Add the pumpkin puree, spice, and sourdough starter, mix with your hands. Then flour a clean working surface and place the dough on top. Pat it down, use your hands, form it into a rectangle. It helps to kind of use your fist or your palm to really pat it down. The key to the flaky biscuits is this process where you pat the dough down, you cut it in half with a dough cutter, fold it on top of itself, pat it down, cut it in half, fold it on top of itself, pat it down, and repeat that process several times. The kitchen smells like pumpkin spice mixed with sourdough, butter, flour. It's time to make the bread that I prepared last night. So I'm going to do a stretch and fold on it, form it into a rectangle, let it ferment on the counter for a couple hours while we go out and do something. Then I will have a chance to take a shower, come back, and get this baked. So I'm going to whisk an egg and get that spread on top for a nice crust. Loaf will last us at least a few days, most likely. This recipe is on the blog, theduvallhomestead.com, as is most of the recipes you're going to see in this video. If you want a more curated version, advertisement-free, something that you can print out on your countertop, I actually just launched a new sourdough book. It has over 30 recipes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you can find that at the link in the description. I have been cooking sourdough for years, and I know that one of the keys is to be comfortable using your sourdough starter. And in order to do that, you just have to bring it out and start feeding it and using it. There's so many staples like bread, pizza crust, pancakes, bagels that I have incorporated into my day-to-day life. And I wanted to put them all in one spot so that you can do the same without having to look up a recipe all of the time. This ebook has over 30 sourdough recipes, including sourdough discard, regular flour, einkorn flour, and covers everything from breakfast, lunch, dinner, desserts, and sides and snacks. You can print it off at home or download it onto your phone for convenient baking. There's so much value to be had in a written recipe. You don't have to look at any advertisements. You don't have to scroll on your phone and then your phone turns off and then you can't find the recipe again. So being able to print this out and use it in your day-to-day kitchen is so invaluable to me. So if you're looking for a high quality recipe book for grain options, you will find einkorn sourdough, regular sourdough, and a collection of yummy recipes that your family will enjoy for all sorts of occasions. Now, for my YouTube viewers, if you are watching this on YouTube, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. So the first 10 people who comment on this video and share it, you just click the share button. You can share it to Facebook or in a message to a friend, something like that. If you like, comment, and share, you can comment your email address saying that you've liked and shared the video, and the first 5 people to do that will receive this recipe book for free. The book also comes with 2 bonus books for free, a spring breakfast recipes cookbook and a kefir smoothies recipes cookbook. So you're actually getting 3 books total. I will leave the link below to the Sourdough at Home cookbook, so you can check it out at the link below. One of my favorite parts of sourdough is being able to start a recipe and then leave it. There's something nice about that. It gives you flexibility in your schedule with a desirable outcome, knowing that your food is coming, that your bread is coming, and you only have to do a little bit of work here, a little bit of work there, and then suddenly you bake it. There's something beautiful about a routine-based recipe like this, where you get in the habit of stretching and folding, or cutting and folding and patting. It's amazing that there's a little bit of magic that happens in cooking when it comes to just time. Waiting, being patient, letting ingredients simmer on the stove, letting sourdough ferment. Cooking is not just as simple as adding ingredients together and then getting a product. There's something a little more magical and chemical that happens when it comes to cooking as well. That's why I love it so much. I'm gonna make breakfast now. This is going to be pumpkin pancakes. If you notice, I have a lot of tomatoes on the counter, and we're gonna be dealing with those in just a second. Because we traveled on a vacation, I had a lot of food that I had to deal with and use up before we left for our trip. We were gonna be gone a whole week, so I wanted to make sure everything was empty. So I wanted to use the whole can of pumpkin. This recipe is 3/4 cup sourdough discard, 1/4 cup maple syrup, 1/4 cup pumpkin puree, 1/2 cup whole milk, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon baking soda, 2 eggs, 1/2 teaspoon cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon nutmeg, and 2 cups einkorn flour. And then chocolate chips are optional if you want them in the pancakes, which we always love that. And then of course butter or coconut oil for seasoning the skillet. Now I'm going to be dealing with all these tomatoes. If you remember in a video a while back, I was harvesting tomatoes from our own garden, and we just got so many. I've never ever had this many tomatoes from our own garden before. So what I'm doing here, because I have some that are not ripe yet, is I'm cutting the stem and taking the core out of the ones that are ripe, and I have been putting them in the freezer. So these ones you're seeing me, I'm putting directly in the pot on the stove. In a second, you'll see me add all of the ones from the freezer that I had previously. This is a good solution to the tomatoes that are ripening at different stages, and you want to make a lot of pasta sauce, and I want to do it one time. I don't want to have to do this multiple times. So I just did all this and froze the tomatoes. Then I had them ready to go for when I was ready to make sauce. I heated the water up, and I didn't even put them on boiling all the way, and I threw the tomatoes in there, and the skins came right off. They only were in there for about 2 minutes, and they were ready to go. I repeated this process of peeling the skin off, putting the skins in a bowl to take out to the chickens later on, and then putting the skin and boiled tomatoes in a different pot. After doing the tomatoes on the stove, I put them in the fridge to sit. Part of the reason was because I was just out of time, and it was time for me to get ready for dinner. But the other reason is because you want to let some of the juices come out of the tomatoes. I just learned this kind of recently from experience, because when I used to make tomato sauce in the past, it was always quite liquidy and runny. And when you buy sauce at the store, it's thicker, and we kind of like that better. So I was trying to figure out how to do that. So as I was letting the tomatoes sit there, the juices were slowly coming out. So I was just straining the water that was coming off the tomatoes. I left some of the water in there, but a lot of it I strained out, and that worked really, really well. A couple of years ago, my mother-in-law visited us, and her family is 100% Italian from Italy. She is very passionate about making pasta sauce, and she taught me her ways. I'm going to be adding about 4 tablespoons olive oil, 1 large onion chopped into pieces, 2 whole heads of garlic, or about 15 cloves, 1 carrot, a tablespoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, a tablespoon dried basil, teaspoon Italian herbs, 2 tablespoons fresh parsley chopped. Now I deviated from this recipe a little bit based on what I had available. I'm going to saute all those vegetables in the cast iron first so that they're nice and cooked, and then I'm going to add them to the tomatoes I had in the fridge. If you've ever followed a homemade pasta sauce recipe, you may know that it's really hard to follow it exactly, just like any recipe. It's best to learn how to taste test and just have a good time. Pasta sauce is the kind of recipe that you can feel like you are a chef in the back cooking this pasta sauce and you're just dipping your finger in and trying it and going from there. So that's what I suggest doing when you're making homemade pasta sauce. Now I'm going to be adding some red wine, lots of salt, and some frozen parsley. Some secret ingredients to make your pasta sauce taste amazing are butter, lots of butter, honey, red wine, and apple cider vinegar, and lemon juice. So I'm going to be adding all of these today. Finally, was happy with the taste, and I'm going to go ahead and pour this into 3 quart-sized jars. So I made almost a gallon of pasta sauce. Now I'm going to be putting these in the fridge temporarily in these jars until I have a way to store them in the freezer. When I did this, I realized I should have just canned them because I didn't realize I was going to have so much, but in hindsight, I should have just done the proper canning method. So I will plan on doing that next year. Our first time eating this pasta sauce was incredible. I made a nice fettuccine noodle that was from our local grocery store, asparagus, and salmon. It's the tail end of our fresh salmon season, which I'm really sad about. I don't know what I'm gonna do without the salmon anymore, but nonetheless, we'll figure it out. And this pasta sauce was incredible. For tonight's dessert, I'm going to be making pumpkin ice cream. This is 3 cups whole milk, 1 cup cream, half and half or milk. I made this recipe for those who may not have heavy whipping cream on hand. Now, heavy whipping cream does make your ice cream taste much better, much creamier, and it's preferred, but I don't often have it on hand, so I did want to make a recipe for ice cream that you could just use milk. Now, I suggest using whole milk, and I suggest using half and half if you have it, but this recipe is no cream friendly if you'd like. So 4 cups total of milk or cream, 3/4 cup pumpkin puree, 2 egg yolks. Now you want to make sure you're using farm fresh pasture raised egg yolks so that you can trust that they are clean. 2 tablespoons vanilla, 1/4 cup sugar, 2 teaspoons pumpkin spice, and 2 tablespoons maple syrup. I'm combining all these ingredients on the stove and then I'm gonna let them cool before putting them in the ice cream maker. I wanted to give my kids homemade ice cream because what kid doesn't love ice cream? But I didn't want to be buying ice cream from the store all the time. It can have some really bad ingredients like artificial colors and flavors, canola oil. So I came up with a few ice cream recipes that are on the blog, theduvallhomestead.com, that are really kid friendly. My kids love this ice cream and they feel like they're getting a really good treat when really they're just having some milk and in this case pumpkin, which is great for them. There's something about fall time that makes me want to just be in the Oktoberfest state of mind. I don't know about where you live, but we have so many Oktoberfest festivals and things happening around us. We have a great time just listening to the music, and I love the smells of fall. There's always that cabbage, sauerkraut, pumpkin, potato, brats. So I wanted to incorporate all of that into one soup. I'm a fan of combining every ingredient in one bowl at the same time, stirring it, and then making whatever I'm gonna make. So I don't know if you've ever read recipes where they say, combine these ingredients first and then sift the flour and then do this or that one at a time, and then you're gonna ultimately add it, and there's like 6 steps in the recipe. I can't stand that. So to the best of my ability, I try to create recipes that are one bowl, everything goes in there at one time, unless there's a reason, for them not to be. This recipe is going to be 1 medium cabbage, 4 broth links, about 1 pound, 1 onion, 2 to 3 medium large sweet potatoes, 2 carrots, 2 tablespoons chives, 2 bay leaves, 5 garlic cloves, and 6 cups of bone broth, along with a lot of salt and pepper. You can also add seasonings of choice. Again, this is one of those meals that I just put everything in one pot and it works out perfectly. This smelled incredible throughout the house as it was simmering, and I'm glad I got to use up a few more of the chives that I have abundantly growing in our garden right now. Well, thank you so much for joining me for another What We Eat in a Week, where I showed you some of our fall recipes. Don't forget to check out the Sourdough at Home ebook to learn about how to cook sourdough for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, desserts, and everything in between. I'll leave a link below, and if you're the first 10 to comment, like, and share, and give me your email address, I will send you the book for free. As always, thank you so much for stopping by our Duvall homestead.